to town?
You?
Nothing else?
No, just you. I mean, I'm just happy to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you.
Mm-hmm.
Were you really in the New York Dolls?
For about 5 minutes.
What was the story with that? I had no idea, and I know you so well.
They needed a guitar player for a couple of shows, and to be honest with you, much more has been made out of that. That sounds like the TV show. Much has been made out of that than really should have been. The biggest thing about it for me is it got me to California, so I'm thankful for that.
Now, there was an album, now, someone was telling me in the office, and Blackie Guzman was on this album, and it was related. Was that you?
That was a joke by somebody who I used to work with that I failed to see the humor in, and it was a very ugly legal situation over that.
Okay, what's going on?
It's long history.
No, they used your name? They changed, because Guzman is...
We did an independent thing, and the guy tried to change the name on it to keep the money for himself. And it was Arthur Kane, the bass player from New York Dolls. And not only did he bootleg the single, he ended up suing me over it. And the American judicial system, which is in complete shambles, a place where you can sue anybody for anything, saw fit to allow him to sue me, so the rest is history, you know.
And so I don't understand the connection with using...
Because he thought he could use a different name and get away with it, like nobody'd know.
Oh, like Blackie Guzman.
Like how many Blackies are there running around this world?
Isn't that the funniest thing?
No, it's not the funniest thing. It cost me a lot of money at the end of the day.
Really?
Yes.
And how long ago was this?
Oh, 8 years ago.
Oh, interesting. And I thought I knew you. How's baseball? You still play baseball?
I've seen one baseball game. As you know, I saw you, a couple of months ago in Europe, and I've been in Europe and Asia since baseball season started, and I've seen one game, and I got, you know, the biggest fix for wanting to see a baseball game that you can imagine, but some of us have to work for a living.
So you were at the Freddie Mercury tribute concert, and we saw each other backstage.
Contest, right?
Well, it was a bit of a contest for me, but you were backstage there hanging out a little bit. Did you enjoy the show?
I'll tell you what. I've been to things like that before, and usually you don't enjoy yourself in situations like that because you get a lot of this going on, you know, in those, when it's the clash of the titan egos is what it boils down to. But I gotta tell you, I've never had a better time at anything in my life. It was the vibe of everything. I think it was the event itself which brought everybody together, and everybody was really cool. And I would gladly go to something like that again in a hot minute.
I had a great time also. I felt the exact same way as you. I just had a fantastic... Everybody was so easy to work with, and people were very generous with their time.
I agree.
There was very little attitude. Time for some music?
If you insist.
Play some... Yeah, I do. W.A.S.P, I Want to Be Somebody?
God, that's ancient history.
All right, good. This is some vintage W.A.S.P for you. There's such a thing. On Much. We'll be back with more. We'll be chatting and stuff. Now, I just want to remind you that we're having this big bash on Canada Day, and there's going to be about 20 bands performing in places like St. John's, Newfoundland, Molson Park, Barrie, and Vancouver. And we also, of course, a special guest appearance from Spinal Tap, who will be performing all 3 shows via one special airplane. We'd like to take you on that airplane. Keep on watching Much Music for details. What do you think of Spinal Tap?
Hey, I think it's great. I was in the movie. What do you think I'm going to think?
You were in the movie?
Right at the tail end, me and Cherie Curry.
What did you do in the movie?
The commercial at the very end, where we're selling their greatest hits package at the end. Cherie Curry and I are walking through. Go get the video and look at it. It's right at the very end of it.
Very cool. Do you ever hang with these guys, or?
I saw Mike McKeon at the Freddie Mercury thing there, and he was beyond tired at that point, you know. So it's like everybody was like.
But do you realize what we're doing with these guys? They're flying
I'm afraid to ask.
Okay, this is only Spinal Tap would agree to do something like this, right? We start off in Newfoundland, St. John's. They do a gig there. Then we all get on a plane and we fly to Molson Park, Barrie, which is right near Toronto, do another show. After that show, get on the plane and fly to Vancouver and do another show. Would you do something like that?
Well, it depends on what it was. I mean, it also depends on how good your record's doing at that point, too, whether you have to do that or not, you know.
You've got this new record out. Tell me about it.
Oh, it's about this big, you know. There's a hole in the middle of it.
Yeah, it's called a CD, actually.
Yeah, right. Spent a lot of money on it. What else can I tell you, you know? I went fishing one time. There's trout that big, man. I mean, it's amazing.
Oh, no. Okay, what's it called? Sorry, we're having fun.
The Crimson Idol.
You sell the record. What's it called?
The Crimson Idol.
Now this
What was that again?
It's called a rock opera.
Yes.
Come on. W.A.S.P does a rock opera.
Well, why not?
Okay, well, tell me about it.
Well, it's a story about a boy named Jonathan Steele, and he grows up in a lower middle class household where he is very unhappy. His parents don't want him. I mean, this boy is a mistake of nature. And he thinks that if he can achieve greatness somehow, that they will accept him. And so he discovers music and he runs off and he becomes one of the biggest things the world's ever seen. And he discovers that that's not going to do it. As a matter of fact, when he becomes the superstar, they reject him even harder than he did.
Now, where does the story come from?
Well, I've lived in LA 15 years, and I've seen a lot of this come through there. I mean, there's a song on this album called Chainsaw Charlie, and Charlie represents the machine, or that evil empire out there, which is the record industry and the movie industry out there. And they get these kids, and they cut them up into little pieces, and they leave them on the roadside for dead, and when they're done, they get somebody to take their place, and another one after that, and another one after that.
Now,
it's never ending.
The fact that it's a rock opera, is this anything like Tommy or...
Tommy who?
Yeah.
No, not really. I mean, I talked to Pete Townsend about this, and he gave me his blessings to do it. But, you guys paying your electric bill?
Now, what do you mean he gave you the blessings?
I told him what the story was. Well, when we did the last album, Headless Children, we did a remake of the Who song, The Real Me. And so when the album went gold, they were playing Radio City Music Hall in New York, and I went back after the show, there was a party, and I gave him his disc. And so I told him that I had this idea for a long time, and I told him the concept of it, and he basically patted me on the back and said, go for it. So I think it's a great idea, you know.
Fantastic.
So as far as that, you know, hey, I feel like I got the blessings of the master. In that sense, maybe musically there's always going to be comparisons just by putting the sheer title of an opera on it. But as far as the story goes, no, there's nothing. I mean, this story's never been told before. I get asked one question by the fans over and over again. They say, give me some advice. How do I get from where I'm at to where you're at? And so I tell them the same thing over and over again. I say, you gotta want this really bad. You know, I mean, you gotta be willing to pay the price. But these fans, they don't understand what's really involved here.
What's the price? What price do you
Well, the price is what I'm talking about in this record, because I thought, okay, I know what I'll do. I'll paint them a picture. I'll tell them a story of the worst possible side of this business. And then once they've heard this, if they still think they want to do this, go for it. You got my blessings. But if you got the slightest inclination, you can live without it. You better seek something else to do, because this will destroy your life. I mean, most people, when they watch this, they don't understand how a band gets from a garage to the stage and the ground that's in between that you have to cover. And, you know, the only thing they see is that given band up there on any given night, and they go, oh, isn't this great? And I'm telling you, you don't just waltz up on that stage and start playing. There's a tremendous price that you have to pay to get there. And unless your skin has the characteristics of alligator hide, you ain't gonna make it in this business.
Now, tell me about the video that we're gonna see. This is the first video from the album.
This is called The Idol. This is the title track from it. And effectively what's happening here is the live show has been condensed in 4 minutes, because the mirror, which is a very integral part of this story, is Jonathan's alter ego. Jonathan Steele is the central character of the Crimson Idol. And live, you will see this giant mirror behind the band, and we've already filmed the story because there's 9 characters in this story. You'll see this boy's life story going on throughout the entire show.
You filmed the story?
Oh, it's already done.
What do you mean? It's like a movie?
Yeah.
And I don't have a part in your movie?
Well, hold on a second.
Cut the interview now. We'll play the video, whatever it's called. W.A.S.P. What's it called?
W.A.S.P. something or other.
No, what's it called?
You're the host.
It's your video.
This is The Idol.
Play it. Or it's just that he's tall. I just want you to understand that. So the album is called The Crimson Idol. And how long have I known you now? How many years?
40, 50.
Yeah, it's about that. Now, you've changed an awful lot, young man. And I was just wondering if this album, unlike the other ones, doesn't seem to require shock from the audience. Is there something in you that's changed that you no longer need that?
Allow me to be very, very frank.
Please.
When any new band gets into the business, any band, they are interested in primarily a couple of things.
Girls?
Music is not high on the list, you know. I mean, let's face it. They're interested in getting laid, and how many times they can get drunk that week. And when you first start out, it's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But after you've been doing it for a while, you start to realize that there is more to life than news, weather, and sports. And because, see, when you first get a record deal, people say, well, you have a deal now. And then the R word comes up, see, you know, and they go, you have to have responsibility now. And then you go, I worked my ass off to get here. Can't be having that, you know. But after you do it for a while, you get fan mail. And I'll give you an example. I got a letter last year from a woman. On the album before this, we had a song called Forever Free. And this woman writes me a letter, and she describes to me how her daughter was killed in a automobile accident, and wanted to know if they could have permission to put some of the lyrics on her daughter's headstone. Now, how can you get letters and stories like this day in and day out and not be affected by that? I mean, it seems to me that anybody who has the slightest bit of compassion would understand, you know, that all artists have been given this great gift. And the gift is not the talent. The gift is that we stand on this platform. And when we speak, the whole world listens to what we say. So therefore, you have more than just a responsibility. You have an obligation to these people to say, when you see something wrong, you see what you do for a living and I do for a living, the same thing. We're reporters. We use in different mediums, but the same thing. So rock and roll essentially is supposed to be about anarchy and revolution. And when you see something wrong, you say something about it. Well, when you get to a point in your career where you can no longer deny that everything that's coming out of your mouth is affecting somebody some way, somehow, then you've got one of two choices you can make. You can use that great gift that I was talking about, either in a good way or in a bad way. But you'll use it one way or the other, whether you want to or not.
You turned into the good witch.
Well, I wouldn't say that. It's just, you know, I'm conscious about what's going on around me. You know, I mean, I'm not, you know, going to sit up here and, you know, try to preach to anybody. You know, that's not my gig.
Do you have any regrets over what WASP has done in the past?
No, because like I said, any new band that comes up that does, especially what we did, I mean, hey.
You went the whole way.
We went over the top. That's right.
Your own record company banned you.
They did?
Yeah. That's pretty.
Those
that's
sons
pretty.
Of really? No, you're telling me the truth. Huh? No, like I said, any new band that does this kind of stuff, that's okay. But after you've been there for a while, and you, like I said, you become an elder statesman, it's important to say something. You have to stand for something. You know, if you don't, you're never going to last.
What do you stand for now?
About this high.
Yeah.
You know,
6'4". Yeah.
Like I said, we've been given a gift, and I know that this is shocking for you to hear this coming out of me. You know.
Yeah.
But it's true. You reach a point where, especially if you want to be taken seriously as an artist, that there comes a time where you have to stop the nonsense. We did an album called Inside Electric Circus. The title of that stood for a lot more than what people understood. We had come from a point where we had done an album and a tour and an album and a tour, and the PMRC in America was digging into my rear end. I was getting death threats every day. I'd been shot at twice. There was only one show in the entire Electric Circus tour where we did not have at least one bomb scare. So it had gotten to a point where it turned into a complete insane asylum. And we said, do we continue on to be like this zoo, this circus, or do we do something where people say, okay, there's actual merit to what they're doing? Because what had happened, people were listening with their eyes instead of their ears. And that was bothering me a lot. And I said, hey, you know, I don't want to continue to live in this fishbowl anymore, so I do what I want to do now.
We're glad to have you on the white side. Good, good. He's a nice guy, isn't he?
What's with this white side?
Black and white.
I know, this is making it
good.
out to be Darth Vader and stuff.
All right. He's actually a bad guy.
I've been waiting for you, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Good. This is Mr. Lawless, Blackie to you, and playing live? Bringing your band?
Where?
Here? Canada?
Maybe.
Good. Okay. We're not going to play any more of their videos. Sorry. This is Def
That's
Leppard
not
and
true.
Mr.
Stay
Big.
tuned. I'll be back.
Blackie Lawless, W.A.S.P here. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, thank you.
Well, this is the new album. It's called The Crimson Idol, and it took about 3 years to make.
Too damn long.
Too damn long?
Yes.
Well, it's a real labor of love, and it's unusual, and it's a rock opera. Now, what prompted you to go ahead with this project?
I get asked one question by the fans over and over again. They say, give me some advice. How do I get from where I'm at to where you're at? And so I got tired of telling them the same thing over and over again. I would tell them, I say, you got to be willing to pay the price if you want to be in this business. You know, your skin's got to take on the characteristics of alligator hide, you know. And they all go, yeah, I want it. They don't really know what they're saying. So I said, all right, I'm going to write a story about a boy, and I'm going to show them the worst possible side of this business. And then once they've heard this story, if they think they still want to do it, go for it. Be my guest, you know. Because it's better to try and fail than, you know, and look yourself in the mirror later on down the line and say, well, I didn't do it because I didn't have the guts. But if you think you can live without it, you better seek another line of employment because you ain't going to make it. I mean, this is a tough road to hoe. You know, anybody, when they go to any given show, they look at a band on stage, and they never really stop to think about how that band gets from their garage to that stage. And I'm telling you, you don't just waltz up on that stage and start singing and playing, you know. I mean, that's a select fraternity there, but nobody really ever stops to think about the amount of ground that has to be covered in between. And I've been living in LA for 15 years now. I've seen a lot of people come out there and have their lives destroyed because they really don't know what this is about. For me, it's been the best. You know, every dream's come true 1,000 times, but not everybody will have that happen to them.
Well, I mean, this goes from right to beginning. Well, I'm not sure. I don't want to give the ending away, but
Do you know what the ending is?
well,
Pretty
more
much?
or less,
Okay.
yes. Well, I mean, I've listened to the album
Probably
and
more
I
than
read the
less, I
lyrics,
guess.
so, you know, but I don't want to tell the whole story. But basically, in song number 4, Chainsaw Charlie murders in the new morgue.
Right.
Now, that's one of the evils of the business as far as you're concerned. You really seriously criticized the LA music industry on that one. Do you want to
Well,
go further?
Charlie, well, first of all, let me preface all this by saying what this, or how this record was written. It was written from a literary point of view of satire, where everything on it is a euphemism for something else. In other words, everything is not what it appears to be. Nothing is what it appears to be. Even the title of The Crimson Idol, everybody's going to think it's the boy, and it's not the boy, you know, but you have to dig deeper to find out what's really, really going on here. So when they hear Chainsaw Charlie, a lot of times, you know, I'm sure a lot of people are going to think, oh, cool, old W.A.S.P, you know, and it is not. You know, Charlie is supposed to be the president of one of the biggest record companies in the world, and the chainsaw is a symbol of the industry, as is the morgue. I mean, Charlie tells Jonathan in the story, he said that the morgue is the place where all artists will eventually whore themselves to commercialism. It's the place where the music comes to die. So in other words, he's telling this kid, you know, who's young and green, he says, you know, you can take all your ideas of musical integrity and throw them right out the window, because if you're going to do this, you're going to do it my way. And if you don't, you ain't going to make it.
Musically, is this the work that you've appreciate the most so far?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, you go into slave labor, you know, for 2.5 years, and you better like it.
Did you know it was good? I mean, did you plan on it taking that long?
Had no idea. You know, I didn't know what I was doing. You know, I mean, it's like, okay, I built the studio that this was in. That took 9 months to do. It's like I've been in studios all my life, but you don't ever appreciate it till you build it, you know. Same thing with having an idea. Had the idea since '87, but until you write it, you don't know what's involved, because 9 characters in this story, you don't just slap a name on them and expect that to be Chainsaw Charlie or Dr. Rucht or whoever. You've got to give these people a heart and a mind and a soul and a personality, you know, a general overall makeup, and you have to do that to create strong characters, and I didn't know any of this before I got into it. So I literally opened up a can of worms that I had no idea what was going on. And it's funny, because as patient as the label was, they're calling up, you know, once every 6 months. They go, is it done yet? And I go, no. And they go, when's it going to be done? I go, well, I don't know. You know, and so another 6 months to go by, same routine. And finally it got to a point where it was just getting ridiculous. And you know, somebody calls me up and they says, is it done yet? I said, let me tell you a story. I said, remember when you was a kid and you stick your head in the kitchen, you ask your mother, you go, hey, Mom, is dinner ready yet? And she goes, it's ready when it's on the table, not until. You know, well, that's what I was telling them after a while, so they got the drift and they left me alone.
You've got a new image. I mean, there's a new album. It sounds different from the old stuff. And It's very worked over. It's very stylized as well. What's the new Blackie like?
I did a lot of soul searching and stuff, and one of the conclusions that I came to is that any artist, whether he's an actor, painter, musician, sculptor, whatever, is very, very lucky because we're all in the same boat. We've been given a great gift, and that gift is that, not the talent, the gift is that we stand on a platform, and when we speak, the whole world listens to what we say. So that's a very, very powerful tool.
A responsible position.
Well, that's the R word, you know. That's the R word that scares the hell out of everybody when they first get a deal, you know, because you don't want to hear about it. I mean,
Rocket responsibility.
Well, yeah, the only thing any new band wants to hear about when they first get a record deal is how many times they're going to get late and how many times they're going to get drunk that week. I mean, let's face it.
If you could be so blunt.
You know, I mean, no, but it's true. I mean, let's call a spade because that's what it's all about. It's all I cared about, you know. But after you get enough fan mail, you know, where people keep, you know, pouring their heart out to you saying, you know, hey, you know, I heard this record you did, it changed my life. You know, you'd have to be, you know, clinically dead not to have those things affect you over a period of time, you know. So, like I said, all artists have been given a great gift. If people listen to what they say, you have one of two choices. You can either use that tool in a positive way or a negative way. And it's okay for any new band when they first come out to sing about anything they want to. But after you've been doing it as long as we have, I mean, we're going on 10 years now.
Yeah.
You start to become one of the older statesmen. You have not just a responsibility, but an obligation to these people. And I say that in essence, referring to this record, because I tell you, when people finally figure out what happens to this boy in the end, he dies, but it's not how he dies, or excuse me, it's not that he dies, it's how he dies.
Right.
And when people figure out what it is, they're going to do backflips over it. But I am prepared for that because it's a very, very important part of the story.
Okay, hold that thought. Why don't we play the video, The Idol,
Okay.
and we'll be right back with Blackie Lawless and more from the Crimson Idol on the Pepsi Power 30. Blackie Lawless on the Pepsi Power 30. Lots more to talk about. Don't you like our nice ventilation
Hey,
system
man, I'll
here?
tell you, this is big, big time showbiz right here.
This is the basement.
Boy,
this is
I
where
tell
we
you,
do our show.
this is what it's evolved to, huh? Yeah.
Hey,
Now,
we like to keep
that
things
hole in
comfortable.
that pipe up there is scaring the hell out of me.
We just don't want to find any big rats
reminds
down
me
here.
reminds me of something that happened in Taiwan one time.
Oh no, we'll leave that for the other interview. But one thing, speaking of, you know, getting real and staying real, you're moving out of LA.
Getting real scared about that pipe, right?
You know, staying real in the industry. You're moving out of LA, where you've lived for many, many years.
Yeah.
I just found that out. You're moving out. You've got a ranch and animals,
Well, not
horses.
yet. It's getting to be built. As a matter of fact, I got to tonight, as soon as I get done with you here, or finished with you here, shall I say.
Thank you. Thank you, Craig.
Thank you.
I hope nothing blows.
The building's going to blow up now because we have no ventilation system left. No, go on, please.
When we get finished here, I'm on a plane immediately. I got to go to Brazil. And I'll be down there for about a week, and I'm going to go down and stick a gun in George Bush's ear and try to get him to sign that treaty. And if the FBI is watching, I'm serious.
We're talking about the Earth
The
Summit.
evil empire. It's about 50 miles south of here. And I'm an American. Anyway, I'm going to go do that. I'm making a beeline on the 19th of June. That's this month, right? Yeah,
That's right. It's next Friday already.
Right. Well, I've been out for a while. I asked somebody the other day what year it was, and they looked at me like, you know, where's this guy been, you know? Anyway, I'm going up there for the Holmes and the Holyfield fight. I'm getting some money off it, so I have to get that plug in. And then I'm going to get helplessly drunk for about a week. And, somebody just said ouch when I said that, right?
You could hear that?
I did hear it. What's he talking about? Sorry, kiddies, I meant that I was going to have soda pop in the sun. And then I have to go down to Arizona after that to oversee what's going on with the horses and all that stuff down there.
That's cool. It's okay to say you drink, as long as you're not driving, right?
Well, I'm not driving the plane.
You're not driving the plane. Well, it's good you're going down to Brazil. I'm Portuguese, actually.
You are?
I'd love to go down to
Really?
Brazil and check out that scene.
Well, you look about the size. I can fit you in my suitcase.
I said I was short already, didn't I? Okay, well, you know, another thing about the album, too, is that it is a rock opera. Now, that implies that at some point it may be staged. Do you have any
That's true.
plans about that?
Well, the video that they just saw a while ago is a condensed version of what the entire live show will be. We've already shot this with all the characters that are in this story, And what they will see is this gigantic mirror behind us, which is a focal point of the story, which is Jonathan's alter ego. And they will then see his entire life story going on behind us as we're playing. Like, it's kind of like the old days where there was a silent film with an organ player. Well, it's a silent film with a rock band in front of it. So it's going to be more like going to the movies now instead of going to see a rock band.
Now, where did you shoot that footage? That's all been done already?
Yeah, everything's been done. All the promo videos, everything has already been shot.
Will that ever be...